Welcome to section 2.3. This is the 14th session of the ISACA CISA exam prep series. In this session, we'll cover the documents that turn intent into action. We'll work through several questions. How do policies, standards, procedures, and guidelines fit together? What exactly is a policy, and how do you review one? What makes a security policy work? What is a standard, and what is a procedure? And how do guidelines tie it all together? Why does this matter beyond the exam? Because these documents are your benchmark for almost every audit. Picture a software firm that grew fast and never wrote things down. Each team does access control its own way. When you arrive, there is nothing to test against. Good documents give you a yardstick. Without them, control is just whatever someone remembers to do. So how do these four documents fit together? They form a chain, from broad intent down to detail. Policies and standards are tools of governance and management. Procedures and guidelines belong to the people running operations. Each layer builds on the one above it. Think of building a house. The policy is the vision for how it should feel. The standard is the building code you must meet. The procedure is the step-by-step on the work site. And the guideline is the tip from an experienced builder. So what exactly is a policy? A policy is a high-level statement of management intent. It captures direction and expectations in broad terms. Think of it as the constitution of governance. A mature, well-written policy can stay stable for years. But there are layers here too. High-level policies establish the direction for the whole enterprise. Lower-level policies cover specific divisions and their daily activity. The lower ones must stay consistent with the higher ones. And every policy must support the business objectives. How should you review a policy? Start with the basics on the document itself. Check who approved it and when it was last reviewed. Policies must be refreshed as technology and risk change. Then test compliance, since control should flow from policy. Use the policy as your benchmark for evaluation. But stay alert to one thing. If a policy actually blocks a business goal, flag it for improvement. And check how far it reaches outside service providers. Do they comply? And do their own policies clash with yours? What makes a security policy work? A security policy is the set of rules protecting your information. It is the foundation the whole security program is built on. The trick is balance. Too much control kills productivity. And the cost of a control should never exceed its benefit. Senior management must approve it. Then it gets communicated to staff, providers, and partners. What should it contain? A clear definition of security and the policy's scope. Management's intent and the frameworks behind the controls. Compliance, training, and continuity expectations. And the consequences when the policy is broken. Is a security policy always just one document? Not at all. It is often a family of policies for different needs. A data classification policy defines sensitivity levels and ownership. An acceptable use policy sets the rules for using resources. An access control policy governs how access is granted. An incident response policy says what to do during a breach. And a remote access policy covers working from home safely. Each one carries the same intent into a specific area. How often should a security policy be reviewed? At least once a year or after any significant change. It needs a named owner who is responsible for it. The review checks that it is still suitable and effective. Feed in audit results, incidents, and shifts in threats. Then capture decisions to improve alignment and controls, and keep a record with version numbers and dates. As the auditor, you assess the framework behind it. You check its completeness, its approval, and how well it is actually applied. So what is a standard? A standard is a required rule or specification you must meet. If policies are the Constitution, standards are the laws. They are the criteria you measure compliance against. They set the boundaries that procedures must work within. They define security baselines and acceptable risk limits. Strong standards keep products and services reliable, and they are updated to keep pace with new technology. One note worth knowing: professional standards come from bodies in the field with their own guidance. And what is a procedure? A procedure is the documented, step-by-step way to meet a policy. It must flow from its parent policy and respect the standards. It has to be written clearly so anyone can follow it. Procedures are more dynamic than policies. They change as the business and its systems change, so they need frequent review to stay relevant. Awareness is the catch. A procedure nobody knows about is useless. When you can, embed the procedure right into the system. That keeps people from drifting off the expected steps. As an auditor, you read procedures to find and test the controls inside them. Where practice does not match the written steps, execution gets inconsistent. So how do guidelines tie it all together? Guidelines give extra detail to the person following a procedure. They clarify, offer suggestions, and provide useful examples. They are help, not hard rules. Let me walk the whole chain with one example. The policy says information must be protected from unauthorized access. The standard says grant only least privilege. The procedure says accounting staff get access based on their role. The guideline explains how that access is configured and reviewed. It even adds that a missed review automatically revokes access. Each layer builds on the last, from intent all the way to action. So let's bring it together. Policies set intent, and standards make it mandatory. Procedures turn it into steps, and guidelines help you follow them. Governance owns the top, and operations owns the bottom. Review everything regularly and test it against the business goals. A security policy is often many policies, balanced and well governed. Read these documents well, and you hold the benchmark for the whole audit. The MCQs covering all the topics and concepts from this session are available on RooCloud.com. Practice the chapter-specific MCQs before moving on to the next session. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or feedback, post a comment below or email us. I will see you in the next session.